Let's talk about something truly amazing: how an animal changed Yellowstone National Park without ever touching it. This is a story about transformation, not through force, but through presence and influence. Imagine transforming an entire landscape, trees, rivers, everything, just by being there. It sounds impossible, but nature has a way of surprising us. That's exactly what happened when wolves returned to Yellowstone. Their presence alone set off a cascade of changes that rippled through the entire ecosystem. For decades, people thought the park was better off without wolves, but they were missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. The absence of wolves created an imbalance that no one expected. Yellowstone without wolves was like baking a cake without flour. Something vital was missing. The landscape looked the same at first glance, but underneath, it was struggling. The park struggled, and nobody realized how much damage was being done. Overgrazing, erosion, and vanishing habitats became the new normal. Then, a bold idea: bring the wolves back. It was a risky move, but it was also a leap of faith in nature's ability to heal itself. What followed was a chain reaction that no one could have predicted. Animals and plants responded in ways that amazed even the scientists. This isn't just a story about animals, it's about connection, balance, and the power of nature to heal itself. Every creature, big or small, played a part in this unfolding drama. The wolves' return set off a domino effect, changing not just the wildlife, but the very shape of the land. The entire park began to recover, piece by piece. Even the rivers were transformed. Their banks grew stronger, and the water ran clearer, all because of the wolves' indirect influence. It sounds unbelievable, but by the end, you'll see how the howl of a wolf became one of the most powerful forces in Yellowstone. Their song echoed through the valleys, bringing life back to the land. This is a comeback story for the ages. It's proof that sometimes, the smallest changes can have the biggest impact. So let's dive in and see how one wild idea changed everything. The journey is just beginning, and the lessons are unforgettable. You don't need a science degree, just curiosity. All you need is a sense of wonder and an open mind. Watch how one thing leads to another and how nature's balance is restored. Let's begin the journey together and witness the magic of Yellowstone's wild revival. Rewind to a time when wolves roamed Yellowstone, their haunting howls echoing through the valleys and forests, a wild chorus that defined the spirit of the land. But as settlers arrived, fear for livestock and a desire to tame the wilderness led to a government-backed campaign to eliminate wolves from the park. By 1926, the last wolfpack was gone, and Yellowstone fell eerily silent, stripped of its most iconic predator. For nearly 70 years, not a single wolf remained. The land, once alive with their presence, grew quieter with each passing year. At first, people thought this was a good thing. No more predators, more elk and deer to see. The herds flourished, seemingly a sign of success. But removing the top predator was like firing the coach of a sports team. Suddenly, there was no one to keep order, no guiding force. The elk and deer relaxed, and the park's delicate balance quietly unraveled as they grazed without fear or restraint. Without wolves, Yellowstone became a kingdom without its king, a land missing its wild heart. The absence of the wolf's howl marked the start of a slow decline, a silence that crept into every corner of the park. The ecosystem began to lose its structure, and problems started to surface. Riverbanks eroded, and willows and aspens struggled to survive. The elk population soared, unchecked and unchallenged, crowding the meadows and riverbanks. The park was heading for trouble, but few noticed at first. The changes were subtle, unfolding slowly over decades. The missing wolves set off a chain of consequences that would take decades to reveal, affecting plants, animals, and even the rivers themselves. Yellowstone's silence was more than just a lack of sound. It was the beginning of an ecological crisis, a warning sign hidden in plain sight. The stage was set for a dramatic return, a chance for nature to heal itself. The park needed its top predator back, a leader to restore balance and bring back the wild chorus. The unraveling had begun, and only nature could fix it, if given the chance. The story was far from over. Yellowstone's next chapter was waiting to be written. Yellowstone was about to change again, in ways no one could have predicted. With wolves gone, the elk threw a decades-long feast, turning Yellowstone's valleys into their personal banquet halls. Their numbers exploded, and they grazed without fear, roaming freely across the landscape with no natural predators to keep them in check. Young willows, aspens and cottonwoods, especially along riverbanks, became their endless buffet, stripped bare before they could mature. The elk stayed put, devouring every sapling before it could grow, leaving little chance for new forests to take root. Without young trees, riverbanks lost their natural glue. Roots that once held the soil together vanished. Soil eroded, rivers widened and warmed, and the landscape suffered as the delicate balance unraveled. Beavers, who needed willows for dams, disappeared, unable to find the building materials they relied on. Without beaver ponds, fish, frogs, and ducks lost their habitats, and the once vibrant wetlands fell silent. Songbirds vanished as nesting sites disappeared, their songs fading from the riverbanks. The elk's unchecked success triggered a chain reaction of decline, affecting creatures great and small. The ecosystem's balance was lost, and Yellowstone's web of life began to fray. One animal's abundance led to many others' struggles, as the park's diversity dwindled. The park's health depended on more than just numbers. It relied on the intricate relationships between all its inhabitants. The absence of wolves had far-reaching effects, echoing through every corner of the ecosystem. Yellowstone's party was out of control, and the consequences were everywhere, visible in every overgrazed meadow and barren riverbank. The landscape was unraveling, one bite at a time, as the elk continued their feast. The need for balance became painfully clear, and the lesson was written across the land. The solution? Bring back the missing piece, the predator that once kept the system in harmony. The wolves' return would change everything, setting off a cascade of renewal and hope. The stage was set for nature's comeback, and Yellowstone was ready for a new beginning. After decades of decline, scientists knew Yellowstone needed its top predator back. In 1995, they launched a bold plan: reintroduce wolves from Canada. It was a massive, controversial effort. Wolves were carefully transported and placed in acclimation pens to adjust. After weeks, the gates opened. Wolves roamed Yellowstone for the first time in 70 years. Not everyone was happy. Ranchers feared for their livestock, protests erupted, and lawsuits flew. But the project moved forward. Scientists fitted wolves with radio collars to track their movements and study the impact. Would the wolves restore balance? No one knew for sure. It was a gamble, but the stakes were high. The wolves' return was the start of a new chapter. The world watched as Yellowstone's experiment began. The park held its breath. The wolves were home. The ecosystem's fate hung in the balance. Nature was about to show its power. The wolves wasted no time. They formed packs, claimed territory, and hunted elk. They didn't wipe out the elk. Instead, they targeted the weak, making the herd healthier. But the real change was in elk behavior. Suddenly, elk couldn't linger in one spot. They had to stay alert and keep moving. The ecology of fear returned. Elk avoided risky areas like riverbanks, giving young trees a chance to grow. Willow and aspen saplings shot up for the first time in decades. The wolves put the elk on a leash, and the landscape responded. This simple shift set off a chain reaction. The tree's comeback was just the beginning. The wolves' presence reshaped the entire ecosystem. The balance was returning. Nature's dominoes were falling into place. The park was healing one step at a time. The wolves' influence was just getting started. Here's the science. It's called a trophic cascade. When a top predator returns, it triggers a ripple effect through the food chain. Wolves scare elk, elk move, trees grow, everything changes. The wolf is the first domino, tipping the rest. The return of wolves to Yellowstone became the world's most famous trophic cascade. It proved that top predators shape entire ecosystems, not just by eating, but by changing behavior. The landscape of fear reshaped the park. The effects rippled outward: plants, animals, even the land itself. Before, people thought ecosystems were controlled from the bottom up. Yellowstone showed the power of top-down control. Sometimes, fixing nature starts at the top. Bring back the boss, and the whole system can recover. The wolves were Yellowstone's keystone. Their return changed everything. As trees and willows returned, so did the beavers. With building materials back, beavers built dams, creating ponds and wetlands. These new habitats welcomed otters, muskrats, fish, frogs, and ducks. Songbirds returned to nest in the thick riverside foliage. Birds of prey found new perches, and scavengers feasted on wolf kills. Even grizzly bears benefited: more berries, more food from wolf leftovers. The wolves' return revived the entire community. Every species found new opportunities. The ecosystem buzzed with life again. The web of life was rewoven, all because the top predator was back. Yellowstone's neighbors were home again. The park was alive as never before. Here's the wildest part. The wolves changed the rivers. By moving elk away, trees and shrubs grew back, stabilizing riverbanks. Erosion stopped, rivers narrowed and deepened, and natural curves returned. Cooler, shaded water helped fish thrive. Beaver dams created ponds and wetlands, raising the water table. The landscape became wetter and more resilient. All this, just from wolves hunting elk. Wolves became Yellowstone's keystone species, the stone that holds the arch together. Remove it, and everything collapses. Restore it, and the whole system strengthens. The wolves' impact reached down to the very shape of the land. Nature's connections run deep. Yellowstone was transformed, right down to its rivers. What's the lesson? Everything is connected. Every animal, plant, and species has a role, even the ones we fear. Yellowstone taught us that removing one piece can break the whole system. The wolves' return was an act of humility and hope. Nature is a web, not a collection of parts. Biodiversity isn't just nice, it's essential. Every lost species is a missing puzzle piece. The consequences may take years, but they always come. The wolves' comeback shows it's not too late to fix our mistakes. Restoring balance is possible. The howl of a wolf brought back trees, beavers, birds, even changed rivers. Every creature matters. The world is a beautiful, complex puzzle. Let's protect every piece, and our planet. Nature knows what it's doing, if we let it.